First published in 1678, The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan is one of the most influential Christian allegories ever written. Translated into hundreds of languages and read for centuries around the world, the book tells the symbolic journey of a man named Christian as he travels from the city of destruction to the celestial city, representing the soul's journey from sin to salvation. Rather than a traditional novel, The Pilgrim's Progress is an allegory. Every character, place, and event represents a spiritual truth. Through vivid imagery and dramatic encounters, Bunyan explores themes of faith, temptation, perseverance, suffering, and redemption. Though written in the 17th century, its message continues to resonate with readers of all ages. The story begins with the narrator dreaming of a man named Christian, clothed in rags and carrying a heavy burden on his back. Christian lives in the city of destruction, a place destined for ruin. Troubled by the weight of his burden, symbolizing sin and guilt, Christian reads from a book, the Bible, and becomes deeply distressed about his soul. Christian cries out for help, fearing the coming judgment. His family mocks him, thinking he has lost his senses. Despite their resistance, Christian becomes determined to escape the destruction that awaits his city. He meets a man named Evangelist, who points him toward a distant light and directs him to the wicket gate, the entrance to the path of salvation. Encouraged but fearful, Christian sets out on his journey, leaving behind his wife and children who refuse to come with him. Almost immediately, Christian falls into the slough of despond, a deep, muddy pit representing despair, doubt, and spiritual discouragement. The weight of his burden pulls him deeper, and he nearly drowns in hopelessness. Another traveler, Pliable, who had joined Christian briefly, abandons him and returns to the city of destruction. Christian is eventually rescued by Help, who explains that many pilgrims fall into this pit at the beginning of their journey. Soon after, Christian encounters Mr. Worldly Wiseman, who advises him to abandon the narrow path and instead seek relief through morality and good works. This leads Christian astray to the village of morality, where he nearly perishes under the weight of impossible expectations. Evangelist reappears and rebukes Christian, setting him back on the right path toward the wicket gate. Christian finally reaches the wicket gate, where he is welcomed by Goodwill, who explains that entrance is possible for all who seek it sincerely. Though Christian enters the path of salvation, his burden remains. As he continues his journey, Christian comes to the hill of difficulty, which he must climb. Along the way, he encounters others who choose easier paths and are later lost. Christian presses on, learning that the path of faith is not meant to be easy. At the top of the hill, Christian arrives at the cross. Here, his burden finally falls from his back and rolls away into an open tomb, never to be seen again. Overwhelmed with joy and gratitude, Christian receives new clothes, a mark on his forehead, and a scroll, symbols of forgiveness, new life, and assurance of salvation. This moment marks Christian's spiritual rebirth. As Christian journeys forward, he meets fellow pilgrims who represent different spiritual attitudes. He encounters Faithful, a sincere believer who becomes his close companion. Together they travel to the town of Vanity Fair, a place filled with temptation, materialism, and corruption. In Vanity Fair, everything is for sale: wealth, pleasure, power, and even souls. Christian and Faithful refuse to participate, drawing hatred from the townspeople. They are mocked, beaten, imprisoned, and put on trial. Faithful is executed for his beliefs, becoming a martyr. His death, however, is not a defeat. He is immediately received into the celestial city. Christian escapes and continues his journey, joined by a new companion named Hopeful, who was inspired by Faithful's courage. Christian and Hopeful face many trials together. They pass through the Valley of Humiliation, where Christian battles Apollyon, a monstrous enemy representing Satan. In a fierce spiritual battle, Christian is wounded but ultimately victorious through faith and reliance on God's promises. Next, they travel through the valley of the shadow of death, a terrifying place filled with darkness, danger, and despair. Surrounded by unseen enemies and frightening visions, Christian nearly loses hope but presses on by prayer and faith. These trials reveal that even true believers face fear and suffering, but perseverance leads to growth and deeper trust. Along the way, Christian and hopeful encounter giant despair, who imprisons them in Doubting Castle. The giant beats them and urges them to give up entirely. For days they languish in despair, forgetting the key they possess, the key of promise. When they finally remember God's promises, they unlock the dungeon and escape. This episode teaches that despair often comes from forgetting truth rather than lacking it. They also meet ignorance, a confident but misguided traveler who believes good intentions are enough for salvation. Despite warnings, ignorance refuses to change his beliefs, trusting in his own righteousness rather than grace. Christian and hopeful reach the Delectable Mountains, where shepherds show them visions of both the celestial city and the dangers ahead. They see the fate of those who turn back or fall into error, serving as sobering reminders of the importance of perseverance. They are warned about flatterer, bypath meadow, and false shortcuts that lead pilgrims astray. Some travelers who once seemed faithful are shown to have abandoned the path, reinforcing the message that endurance matters more than a strong beginning. As Christian and hopeful near their destination, the journey becomes both joyful and solemn. The celestial city is visible, filling them with anticipation. However, one final obstacle remains: the river of death, which all must cross alone. Hopeful crosses first, trusting fully, while Christian struggles, nearly overwhelmed by fear and doubt. Hopeful encourages him, reminding him of God's faithfulness. With support, Christian safely crosses the river. On the other side, angels welcome them into the celestial city with music, celebration, and eternal joy. Their long journey ends in peace and fulfillment. The story ends with a powerful warning. Ignorance also reaches the river but crosses without fear, believing himself righteous. However, when he arrives at the celestial city, he lacks the proper credentials. He is denied entry and cast away, illustrating that sincerity alone is not enough without true faith. Bunyan concludes with the sobering line, "Then I saw that there was a way to hell, even from the gates of heaven." Themes and meaning. The Pilgrim's Progress explores timeless spiritual themes: the burden of sin and need for salvation, faith, perseverance, and obedience, the danger of pride, false doctrine, and despair, the cost of discipleship, hope beyond suffering. Bunyan emphasizes that the Christian life is a journey, not a single moment. Salvation begins at the cross but requires continual faithfulness. Written while Bunyan was imprisoned for preaching without a license, The Pilgrim's Progress reflects deep personal conviction. Its simple language, memorable imagery, and universal message made it accessible to ordinary people. The book has influenced countless writers, preachers, and theologians, and remains one of the most widely read books in history after the Bible. The Pilgrim's Progress is more than an allegory. It is a mirror of the human soul's struggle toward truth and redemption. Through Christian's journey, John Bunyan reminds readers that faith is tested, hope is refined, and perseverance leads to eternal reward. Its enduring power lies in its honesty about suffering and its unwavering confidence in grace. For readers seeking meaning, courage, and spiritual clarity, The Pilgrim's Progress remains a timeless guide for the journey of life. Thank you so much for watching. Your support helps this channel grow. Please like the video, subscribe, and comment your favorite book so I know what to summarize next.